My name is Frank Collier, and I was born in Oklahoma, Broken Bow, Oklahoma, in the month of January in 1925, and lived there till about 16 years old, and then went to Oregon and lived there for about 3 years, and then I went into the service, and finally then I come back home then after the service. We're going to talk a little bit about electricity before and after. Now this is the way that we used to have when we had lights. Before we had electricity, to have lights, we had to go through this process of taking the globe off of this light lamp, take a match, and then we had a valve here to turn it up. Then we put the globe back on. And this is the light that we had, and this is the kind of light that I had when I was in high school that I had to study by. Now I'd put two lamps together so I could study. And then this is the way we had to go for lights before we had electricity. Now then I'll show you what we have now. I'm going to turn the light out. And electricity, we just walk in, reach up there, turn it on, we got lights, and it's so much more and brighter, more and better. And so there's lots of difference, and this light is much safer than this light. This light here can get a fire. That's it.
Was your family the only family in your neighborhood that had electricity?
No, there were other. When we had moved to Salem, Oregon, and that was the town there in Oregon, and all the houses there did have electricity, and but it was something, you know, that out in the country they still didn't have electricity in every house.
How old were you when you first got electricity?
I was 16 years old before I lived in a home that had electricity in it. I had seen electricity out, but I've never had it in our home until I was about 16 years old.
In your house, were there many things that required electricity?
No, we didn't have anything. The only thing we had to start with was lights. And I don't know, but I'm not real sure, but I think that it wasn't too long after we got to that we got a refrigerator. And that took time because we had to buy it by the monthly payment. It took time. We finally kept adding to it. You know, we got more.
Which had electricity first, the city or the country?
The cities had it before the country did. And it eventually, it took lots of money, and there wasn't that much money available. These electric companies, they were slow in getting it out. And I don't understand it all back then, but I think the government helped provide money to get a lot of those electric lines up and for the people to have electricity.
What was the first thing you saw that when you got electricity, and what was your feelings towards it?
Well, the first thing I saw was the lights. That's what we had, and that was a big thing to me because we had the old coal oil lamps that we had to light, and they were very poor. But this electric lights, you just twisted a button or a switch, and they came right on, and it was so much brighter and better lights. It was just amazing when you lived without them and then see it.
Which was better, before or after electricity?
Everything was harder before we had electricity, because before we didn't have the electric stove, cook stove, and things like that, and you had to get out and cut the wood for the cook stove, and that went on year round just for the heater to heat the home. In the wintertime, of course, that was it. After winter was over, you didn't have to do that then, but you had to work without that electricity. You had to work, and it made things a lot easier, more convenient. The women washing machines. They had to, they do the, put out the washing and we'd hang them on the lines then to dry. It wasn't too long, not too, I don't know, but a while. Anyway, then they got dryers that you could wash and then put them in the dryer. But it's all run by electricity and everything. So it was more convenient and labor saving after we had got it.
In your opinion, are people spoiled by electricity?
They were spoiled. And it would, people that had been used to working and doing things now, and they could just come in and flip a switch on, there'd be a lighter, go in the kitchen, turn the burner on, and have heat and everything. But before, we didn't have that. And yes, they spoiled us, you bet. And we got used to making things easier, didn't have to work quite so hard. And as time goes on, as the time went on, and more, and even today, they're still making new things to run by electricity and improving our living and everything. Getting electric cars, for one thing. And so, I mean, it's just, it was a labor saver and certainly a spoiler.
Okay. So, if you got to meet the person who invented electricity, what would you say to them?
I would say to them that it was just amazing to me, and I couldn't believe it until I actually saw it and had used it and how much better it was, and that I certainly did thank and appreciate him. Got electricity, and it was something that would change the world.